Let's move. Blade of justice. We stand as one. Are you gonna give me orders?
No, I think we're gonna get spoiled today, and I think we're gonna have an amazing day of StarCraft 2.
I absolutely agree, and I wouldn't do it with anyone else, Roddy. Thanks for being here. All right, best of 5. Don't forget, guys, we have a long series here. Plenty of opportunity for comebacks and awesome, super long games, and TVZ is usually giving us a treat. We're starting off on Nightshade for game number 1. And we'll start off in the bottom right. Let's say we start off in the bottom right. In the bottom right, as the red Terran, he is Cure.
And on the left top side, of course, of Nightshade, we already took a quick look at the main base of Lambo. I mean, I hopped into Lambo's stream, I think it was on Monday, so one day after we had that insane Sunday with all those crazy results. And I wanted to just pick his brain a little bit about a couple of the things that happened. And I was like, first, what did you think of yesterday? He's like, well, what I think is that I'm really not happy with it, because I take a look at my bracket right now and it's way harder than the upper bracket. I mean, this is insane. I got Cure first, and then, I mean, there's a couple of other insane players. Basically, Raynor is on his side of the bracket. Sero is on his side of the bracket. Innovation is around there as well. He's like, this is just ridiculous. So I understand that everybody is happy about the crazy day we had. He's like, I'm not happy, okay? This is not good for me.
I was going to consider the players' feelings, Like, I mean, it's awesome to think about with the show, but yeah, these players, this is not what any of them expected going in the lower bracket. In fact, many of them not expecting to, of course, be in the lower bracket. Even when it came down to, like, the amount of games that were taken off of certain people, On Saturday, we had the hype that was Vanya actually taking a game off of TY. Now he's up against Cyril, which, I mean, depending on your point of view, might be even more intimidating, but... yeah, there's been some surprises for sure. The Lambo versus Cure, TVZ, I believe we're playing on a middle ground server, of course, since everything's online now, guys. But Cure, he is looking good. I'm not going to spoil anything because TSL was like literally a couple hours ago, but let's just say that Cure has been looking good online for some time. I mean, even before Katowice, that's what we were talking about.
No, he has been one of these Korean Terran players that we've all been talking about because we know what he's capable of, and maybe didn't really lift any trophies yet, but we know that he's capable of great things. I think he's the favorite here, but then again, after last week, what does it even mean? We saw so many Korean players go down to the lower bracket, and even Cure looked somewhat questionable, right, in his TVT series against Special. I've seen him play better. Obviously, Juanito played great, and it always goes two ways, right? You can say maybe the favorite didn't play that well, as this Reaper is getting some decent early work done, by the way, already picking up 2 kills. But I was a little bit disappointed by the Cure that we saw. I felt a couple of times he created a massive advantage for himself, wasn't really able to capitalize on it. He's gonna have to step it up today, because if he plays the same way as he did last week, well, Lambo is very strong, and Lambo has been traditionally pretty good against Terran, so he needs to bring his A game here.
Absolutely. The series that he played versus Special was just really odd. I mean, everyone was talking about those upgrade differences, but just that they were playing so many like Cyclone games probably really threw him off, because he's usually very good at TPT. But in general, he's been performing well like against every matchup. It's just that, like, historically, he was a TPT sniper going all the way back to, like, the Pro League days. But starting off with something very simple here, we do have Hellions and Cloak on the way. The Hellions actually going to go ahead and dart through here. They want a scout into the main base. They're going to actually get it. Speed is it's not close to being done here. About 10 more seconds. The Reaper also trying to get a couple more kills, and there's just nothing to actually stop. Only 2 Hellions, so they have to 2-shot the drones, but they are getting drones killed.
Yeah, quite a few drones going down already. We see 6 drones going down in the end, and this wasn't even a massive investment. Often you see like 8 Hellions drive by. We have more Hellions, by the way, thinking about going into the natural, but in the end they decide to disengage. Well, that's one hell of a start for Cure, and obviously if you're Lambo, you can't be too happy with it.
No, it's not really supposed to happen. I mean, it's something that you think could happen, right? If you don't have link speed that quickly, if your queens are in a position, but usually you have enough of either one to stop that from being an option. And on the Terran side, a lot of times they don't want to sacrifice those 2 Hellions for fear of later repercussions when it comes to taking that 3rd CC. But Cure, I mean, feeling confident still on 4 Hellions, and that is usually enough to deal with most Ling floods. We'll be getting that down, no problem, later on. The Banshees have yet to do their job. You pair them up 2, they do one-shot a drone, and typically when it comes to pro games, you do see a couple drones go down. But I think what's also interesting to note here is that Lambo did take that forward position for his 3rd base. So really looking to get that creep spread out to where we see it, which is why Kure is also trying to take it out. This is a very common location for that tank push.
If you think about it, this is actually so nice for Cure, right? Because he has 2 Hellions early on, he sacrifices those, he immediately gets the drone damage done that you're looking for, even in an earlier stage than Zergs normally takes some damage, and now he still has 4 Hellions left to fall back on, where he can still push the creep back with, and he still has the map control he normally gets, but then on top of that, he got that bonus economic damage early on. You gotta be feeling really good about this if you're Cure. And Lambo, I mean, obviously not down and out, but we all know that Nightshade is pretty difficult for Zerg players. They have been vocal about it. This is just not the way you want to start off the first series.
It is like a weird map where you know exactly what the strengths of that Terran push is, but since you know exactly what you have to do to not be beaten by it. But starting things off by losing drones, by losing creep spread, yeah, that's already setting you up for... You know, you're already like losing the optimism of like, no, I know exactly what he's going to do. Okay, but everything else is later now. He still absolutely has a chance to push back the attack, and he's going to have some different hooks, you know, very well timed. But these Banshees did so much extra damage. And when I said extra drone kills or any drone kills at all, I meant like 4, not 16. Oh, 17. God, that wasn't supposed to happen.
23 drones going down before even the first real bio has kicked in, before even Stim has been really done, before medevac has been utilized. This is like, I feel like we have seen these kind of games before. Obviously, Zerg players will not suddenly die in the next 30 seconds, but slowly but steady, these fights are going to be more and more favorable for the Terran player. Lambo is going to need something magical in this game. He's going to need a fantastic bailing flank. He's going to need... Yeah, I mean, Burrowed Bailings, you mentioned it before. That's obviously going to be hard to afford in this phase in the game, but I think we all know where this kind of stuff is heading. That Terran army is going to get bigger and more powerful, and of course, there's a lot of micro potential in this army, and normally you kind of counter that by just having an overwhelming amount of units. With the amount of damage that Lambo has taken, I don't think he is going to have an overwhelming amount of units.
Yeah, I don't think so either. The good news is his creep spread is good and his bane speed is good, and actually he's going to jump on top of this, I guess hoping that Cure was not paying attention. Cure was paying attention, he pulls back the Marines, he just didn't have a lot there, so a tank did go down, but I guess the other thing was that Lambo did hit right before a 1-1, and Combat Shields was done, and, you know, forced him not to clear up more creep than what was possible. Now he's getting another scan in, but Lambo's creep spread was good, and he's actually ready for round 2 already, but these are not upgraded Lings, so jumping on top of the Marines is always dangerous. Not a whole lot of medevacs actually off screen, not helping out very much, but again, another grab on a tank. That's what Lambo's hoping for, and then hoping that he can actually remake the Banelings before Cure jumps on top of him.
Yeah, well, the 2-2 upgrades are already on the way for Cure, and obviously Cure right now is looking forward to push that creep back a little bit further, because Lambo did do a good job, all things considered, in still getting that out there, but we know that once the Terran army is up that high ground in the center of Nightshade, it's going to be harder and harder for Lambo to get favorable engagements there, because Cure is going to see it coming, he can micro his way off creep, and you look at the work account now, by the way, 73 SCVs against 65 drones. If anything, that's supposed to be the other way around. Cure is having a pretty flawless game 1, and for Lambo, it just kind of feels like a disaster.
Yeah, he really needs to get something momentous here. He needs to either get a full surround in this army or a really nice Ling run by, which unfortunately Terrans have really gotten used to on this map. Now this is that surround I was talking about, so he actually is forced to pick up on his medevacs. Marines able to target fire a lot of these Banelings down since it is off creep, but there are no more tanks right now. One pops out, but he's going to need to siege, as that was an awful lot of Ling Baneling left over. Here does save his Marines, however, and that's, I mean, that is something, for sure. Lambo did push that army entirely back. It gives him a lot of breathing room.
It is a little bit of momentum, which he desperately needed after the way that this game has started off. And I'm actually kind of surprised that he was able to get that done. But good job to Lambo, but this doesn't mean that he's out of the woods. It's not like Hive is already halfway done. It's not like we are going to get ready for Ultralisk soon. Like, no, he's going to need 1 or 2 more fights like that. And we'll see if he can actually get it done. Obviously, once Drilling Claws kicks in, I think it's also going to be a little bit harder to get those good fights. I really kind of felt that the Widowmine, by the way, if you think of last Sunday and even a little bit at the first day as well, it was just the unit of the day, right? We see it more than ever as we have a drop that has gone kind of unnoticed on the top side of the map. It's going to get difficult. And Cure, the multitasking as well. At the same time, he's on the left side. He's going to be able to get a couple of drones there as well. You gotta love this if you're Cure, and Lambo knows that it's just all about surviving at this point.
Yeah, they have really turned into the drop phase, however, so as Lambo accommodates for that, hopefully he will anyways, he'll be able to spread his army a little bit more. He's responding to both places relatively quickly, a couple drones going down, handful of lings here and there with the upgrade differences still in effect. But this 5th base is actually being a real problem because it's allowing the beat bot between the natural and the 5th, and there's no mutas.
Well, that's a lot easier for Medevacs and Marines to go back and forth than it is for Lings and Banes. At the same time, Cure is going to bring a slightly bigger army, as Marines did get dropped on top of Banelings. So that's obviously not really the way you want to do it. On the other end, Lambo doesn't have that many Banes to work with, as he's firing up 21 additional Banelings to stay safe for a little bit longer. But all of these little traits are obviously in favor of Cure. And I mean, normally when we cast TVZ, we see the Zerg looking for some run-bys, looking for a Baneling run-by, trying to maybe blow up a planetary fortress. I feel that, oh my goodness, jeez. Okay, well, Widowmine's Drilling Claws, we already mentioned it. That was a massive hit. I feel like Lambo has no opportunity at all to be aggressive. And once again, it's just all about surviving for him.
Which he is doing, though. I mean, 5 bases, creep spread at least somewhat out there, giving him advance notice if there's a main push, which this is pretty much it. Lambo is pretty out of position, so he's going to stem onto creep and clear up a lot of that creep spread. I mean, Cure is already on 4 bases, going to 5th, so he could replace this if this is a bit too much of a dive, which it kind of seems like it is. Only got 2 drones from this. A good last-minute split there from the Widowmines, too. Barely picking up any units. I mean, that was a dive right there, and it didn't really work out super hard, but Cure is on the other side of the map as well, clearing up even more creep spread.
Yeah, we can see that's kind of a funny timing on the Hydralisk then, though. It's like,
right? Yeah.
Once we kick in Hive, you're like, Ultras! And it's like, oh, we're going to get some Hydras too. I can also understand he's getting fed up, obviously, with these Medevacs, especially when they're in the hands of Cure. You know that that's going to go on for a very long time. We do see the Ultra then go down as well, but like, how rich is Lambo really? Sure, he's sitting on a couple of minerals and he's got a decent drone count, but he's nowhere near maxed out. The gas count is low. Can you really afford Hydras and Ultras at the same time?
Maybe the Hydralisk then is actually more so for lurkers, which obviously is also expensive, but it's going to take a little while to get to. So, but you know, the Europeans have been experimenting more and more with the lurker style of play in the late game. I'm kind of hoping that we see it. The attack to the south side not going too poorly, but it was off creep, and Cure has another big army to the right side. Not too many Widowmines, but just a lot of heft to that army. You know, so many Marauders to take care of. And sorry.
Well,
there is some technical issues, but that's okay. I'm going to cast through them.
Okay, I was like, is that on my side? I'm having a small panic attack over here. I was like, no, not this as well. As we do have Cure applying some serious pressure right now to Lambo. Lambo's supply is plummeting. He's going to try to get a favorable fight one more time here, but the Banelings are not really getting in range. I want to say that. Now a few more do survive. Obviously, this is not everything that Cure has to offer. He's got way more on the south side. And this is a base that Lambo is not even able to cancel, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, this is just what Cure can do when he has the economy untouched like he has had. He's been just nonstop pressure on top of Lambo, who's doing a good job for the first, 11 minutes or so, handling it, but never really advancing his tech, never really getting on Cure's side of the map and actually doing damage. So, very, it was a game that we kind of saw coming, but it took longer than anticipated, but we knew Cure was ahead from the get-go. All those drone losses were just, I mean, kind of inexcusable in a TVZ at this level. That's supposed to put you really far behind.
Yeah, I think, like, obviously when it comes to killing drones, right, the quicker you kill drones, the better it is, because these Zerg economies, they snowball. So if you kill 6 drones while the Zerg is sitting at 60 drones already, okay, they drop to 54. That kind of stinks, but they'll be able to bounce back from it relatively quickly. But if you lose 6 drones, basically against the first 2 Hellions, it's much harder to recover from that, because that's a much bigger percentage of your economy. And then obviously you try to make up for the fact that you lost 6 drones. Then those Banshees show up, and sure, they definitely did a little more than they were supposed to. But I think after that start, they're always going to find some damage. And it's hard to kill a world-class Zerg player like Lambo. You're not just going to make your first 18 Marines walk to the other side of the map and kill him. But it's like you said, it kind of felt like we did feel that one coming. It was kind of the inevitable. It's just that Cure played it out very safe and sound. He kept expanding, and he's like, I'll drop a little bit here, I'll drop a little bit there. It doesn't have to be about one big push straight through the middle of the map. We'll just take it slowly but steady, but we'll get the job done.
Yeah, and it was a lot about trades. You're right. You know, it wasn't just one big push, and it was unbeatable. It was Lambo taking trades and then slowly not able to remax with that. Didn't even really get to ultras. Never saw anything with the Hydralisk Den. I mean, I do wonder if not going for Mutas was the right call. You know, Muta's really coming back into play for TVZ and on the bigger maps as well. Lambo definitely still a guy that I see doing Hydras, but might have also just been a decision like if I can get to Hive, I can get to these stronger units and make a comeback. But I don't know, the way that TVZ is going, the way that Cure was going, you know, the pacing that he was at, like he was on quadruple four tech labs by the time Lambo was even sending out his Ultralisk cavern, right? So, I do wonder if maybe Mutas would have given him some more flexibility to try and change the pacing of the game as opposed to always being on the defensive. But yeah, it was just a bad start, kind of shaking off the rust, perhaps. Game for 2, probably going to start off a lot better for our Zerg. But we're in the bottom right looking at our Terran, who is sending out some SCVs. It's Cure up 1.
Yes, it may have something to do with Nightshade as well, right? That he didn't want to play Mutas, but we'll talk more about Nightshade later. In the left top side of Simulacrum, obviously it's the main base of Lambo, and now it is going to be very important for many reasons. Obviously, Cure is up 1-0, going up 2-0 in the best of 5 is massive, but I believe we have a little prediction game going as well with Dr. Dario, who said he never sees this strategy lose, Jess.
Exactly. If it wasn't used, he would still lose, but now that it's being used, will it actually win? He said it would win every time it is used, 2 racks or 3 racks. Lambo has an Overlord sent to what is sometimes the barracks are, but I don't think it's going to get close. Actually, no, it will. It will. I mean, barely. And no, he's even redirecting it, so absolutely it will get close enough.
Well, he was redirecting it.
Oh, no!
But no, he's redirecting it again, Lambo. To the left, Lambo. Everything you want. Under a TSL logo to the left.
Be Beyonce, man, to the left. No, he's not going to do it. I mean, the other Overlord is sending into another common location for the 2 rocks, but Cure put it right in the middle of the 2. Oh, no.
It's actually amazing how often we see this, right? Where it's like, okay, they see a lot. They see almost everything, and then there's one little dark spot on your minimap, and that's where suddenly a couple of barracks have been hidden. Now, at least it's not a 3 or 4 Rex, but this is still going to hit very quick and very hard. A couple of SCVs are going to be brought along as well. Lambo's spawning pool is done. He caught a glimpse of the Marine there, so he should be aware of what is happening at this point. But is it too late already?
Yeah, I really hope he saw that anyways. Like, it's amazing the barracks weren't scouted, and on top of that, for the SCVs also to not be scouted. The Overlord is coming back into a position that would have scouted it, but now it's also a position where it dies. Cure has to choose whether to attack the drones or the Overlord, though, and I think the drones are going to be that priority, so he actually gets the bunker up and running. 3 Marines already with a 4th one joining in. It's going to target fire down the drones while Lambo tries to get a surround, and it's a full surround of the Marines. He does manage to sneak out of there for a second.
Obviously, quite a few drones have gone down already at this point, but that was a pretty amazing surround. If he doesn't get that surround, he's going to end up losing way more drones, and he gets it done. And that was a surprisingly good defense by Lambo, considering the fact how late he scouted everything. I mean, his hatchery has never been in any danger. Sure, you lose mining time. Sure, he lost a couple of drones, but it's not like there is already a command center done on the other side of the map. Actually, very well done by Lambo.
I think one of the things that kind of sucked for Cure was that his bunker wasn't put down maybe as fast as it could have been. He didn't immediately send that SCV from building the barracks to building a bunker, for instance. So it was building when the hatchery, it was like starting building when the hatchery was actually able to see it. So that definitely helped. Let's also not forget that it was only a 2 racks, right? So you're right to point out that the command center wasn't down, but it is going down in location. Cure still has a temporary worker lead that's going to feel okay. He's going to be able to defend against anything Lambo has to throw at him because, well, Lambo isn't throwing anything at him. So the game will continue on, and, well, TLO's prediction might still be correct. Cure can still very much so win this game.
I don't know. If I'm Dario right now, I'd be shaking in my boots a little bit, because I don't think that's really the damage that you hope for in general. Now Cure is obviously amazing, so it's not like he hasn't turned games like this around. And obviously, if you speak of Korean Terran players, we've seen Maru in the past, where it's like, wow, this failed miserably, and then somehow, you know, as soon as he gets a couple of medevacs and Marines out, they do turn things around. So I would never call a game like this over. But I think Lambo is going to feel really good about the defense, especially because he saw it quite late. I mean, if you pull the drones, especially if you chase out that far, getting us around is kind of like the dream, and he was able to get it in the end. And look at this, he's even stalling that command center for just a couple seconds, but all of these little things, they do start adding up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's also going to be true for what Cure is doing, which is following up and looking for more drone kills that he didn't get with the T-Rex. I would say, I'm trying to think of like all the T-Rexes I've seen that didn't just immediately win. What is the ratio of like 3CCs versus armories? I feel like the 3CC is the more common option, but this is going to be a Hellbat follow-up, so Lambo's going to have to be prepared. Now, he doesn't necessarily need a Baneling Nest to make this a defense, but I mean, I'm pretty sure he won't have one, and that is the easiest defense. So he's going to have to work with his queens and his creep spread to make it work, and that's where also the Liberator will come in.
It's really unfortunate for Lambo that the Overlord gets shut down before it ever gets a sneak peek into the main base. He does have a happy little Zergling running into the natural that's going to try to get it. Now the Baneling Nest gets thrown down immediately. So it seems like he has put 2 and 2 together, but there are already a couple of Hellions in his main base. I like that he doesn't go for the Hellbats immediately, just get a couple of good shots off. Look at this Hellion micro so far by Cure, getting a lot of damage done and really not taking that much damage on his Hellbats. At the same time, we're going to have a little Marine push on the bottom side as well. Well, this is actually a very good start for Cure. Maybe Dario's starting to feel a little more confident about his prediction. Did Lambo overdrone a bit? He's at 53 drones against all of this.
Yeah, you know, the Lings that just got barbecued in the main base might have been able to take on the south side of this attack, but now they got taken out by Hellions, and I wasn't that quick to replacing them, so now they're coming out one by one through all these hatcheries into a meat grinder that is just a couple of Hellbats and a couple of Marines, but enough. The drones in the main base not mining or pulled to the natural where they're a little bit safer, at least temporarily, but nope, that is going to be it. Here with a follow-up takes still a quick 2-0. T-Rex wasn't the reason, but well, it was part of the reason anyways.
Yeah, I mean, Dario will say it was. I mean, he just never sees this strategy lose, and it has a very high win record in tournaments. That's a shame, and I think that's really unfortunate. Of course, Lambo did take damage from the opening. You're always going to take some damage against such an aggressive opening, and he lost a lot of mining time, so his build is delayed. 4 drones did go down. But I felt that he actually came out of it quite all right, and I don't think the game had to end there if he would have just been able to put 2 and 2 together a little bit quicker than he actually did. And I'm totally with you when you say when most of the time it's a 3CC follow-up. Terran players are like, all right, well, we're going to need a strong economy to stay in this game. This game is going to slow down for a little bit. Zerg is going to drone up. We're going to go triple CC, and then eventually I'll try to make the difference with my main army. Well, I almost felt that Lambo thought that was happening as well. Clearly not the case.
Right. I would say it's usually a safe default assumption if you can't get a scout in. And the Marines didn't just take out the Overlord. They also stopped it from getting into where the 3CC, the third one usually is. Like the third CC is usually on the left side of the main. Easily scoutable if you're not pushing back the Overlord from the get-go with more than 2 Marines, more than 1 Marine. So really nice denial of information there from Cure. But for Lambo, it really was just also the Hellions in the main base. It felt like his Lings were so late. I didn't catch if he did a round of drones before or just the follow-up Lings, you know? Because if they're there all together, they take care of the natural, they take care of the main, it's still a loss because you had to build all those Lings and not drones. And it's still panic, you know, setting in. But usually we see something more of a hole rather than just a tap out. But yeah, his Lings couldn't get together. And they're not good if they're not together. So it's already game number 3 and it's already match point on Eternal Empire, biggest map that we have. In the bottom left, it is the Red Terran, Cure. Not sending out any SCVs.
And on the right top side, our German Zerg, who's definitely in trouble here with his tournament live on the line down 0-2. It is, of course, Lambo. Last week, he fell to Uteramo in what I really thought was a 50-50 series before going into it, right? I don't know how you felt about it when you casted it, but those two have been going back and forth, and they've had a little rivalry in the European scene. And I was like, well, it stings for Lambo that he lost that one, but I definitely think he still has potential to make a deep run. We don't look at Lambo to win this entire tournament. I think that's a bit too much, but we know that he's capable of making deep runs in very stacked tournaments. it's starting to look very, very dicey if that's something you believe in. Because I don't really know how he's going to turn this one around.
The series with Euthermal was also an interesting one because I really felt that was a match that was really determined by his mental state. Like, when he lost against that game 2, I think it was, 8 racks, and he later tweeted that he also like knew he made the mistake of overreaching, and then it was kind of a spiral down from there. I was like, yeah, that's what I guessed. That's what I guessed, and it's good to get confirmation, but it sucks because he absolutely was in like the physical form to take on Euthermal, but despite knowing what Euthermal was going to do most of the time, was actually unable to make all the correct decisions, which can be really, really painful. When usually Lambo is looked at as one of the smartest guys, always talking with Laser, some of the I don't know, the strategists, I guess, of the European scene. But Cure is a different beast. I mean, Cure has actually really mixed things up. Already we're game 3, so we haven't seen too many builds, but we haven't seen the 8 racks pressure that Euthermal is so well known for. That Nightshade game, it was all about the macro and just sending unit after unit, so Lambo has to readjust to this Korean Terran.
Yeah, no, if you're Cure, you're going to feel really good about that previous game, especially since maybe the start wasn't really what he wanted, but then in the end, even before he truly shows that much, he's like, all right, Hellions, Hellbats, let's get it done, quick 2-0, and now we have a much more normal opening again, but this is obviously, especially considering how things went for him last week, where sometimes he got himself in great positions against Special. He wasn't able to close it out. Looks much more on point right now. And I think it's a lot about building up some momentum in these kind of tournaments as well, right? Like, players are funny in ways. If things are not going well, they're like, well, it is what it is. Maybe it's just not meant to be. But if you start playing well, you start picking up victories that you didn't even really count for anymore. You're like, yeah, let's make an epic run in this one. And I think that Cure is going to feel a whole lot better about this so far than he did about everything that happened last Sunday.
Yeah, momentum shifts can be a big deal, which is what Lambo would be looking for. But with that pool first looking like it was just in cases, just in case the 2 racks or 2 racks came out again, didn't really end up using it, Lambo is not really going to be putting the pressure on Cure, which, I mean, might be too bad. It looks like Cure was pretty aware of the potential of a cheese with the pool first. I mean, adding the tech lab onto the factory instead of immediately going over to the Hellion production, but he is accommodating here. Did go for 2 Marines from the barracks and is trying to find that Overlord, but psych, it's over to the left.
Yeah. Well, obviously for Lambo, it's important that he figures out what is happening in this game. The opening is very standard, Hellions, Cloak, Banshees. We've seen it a million times already in this matchup, but it's still very important to confirm these kind of things. It really gives you a peaceful state of mind. If you're the Zerg player, you know exactly how to deal with it. And if you're not exactly sure yet what you're playing against, then you're still kind of playing the guessing game and you're going to try to cover your tracks. But getting the confirmation is super important. And we see it right now. So hopefully for Lambo, the units are going to be in the right position this time. And we won't have something crazy happening like just the Reaper and the initial 2 Hellions getting a whole lot of damage done before the Cloak Banshees pretty much deliver the final blow. Even though that first game went on for a long time, I think it's safe to say that that's pretty much where the game got decided.
Yeah, I think so. It really shouldn't have been the case, and Lambo knows that as well, which is just maybe, again, his mentality might not be fantastic after the first game went away it did, and then the second game was ultimately won to help with that 2 rack. So really going to be a test of his mental strength here. In game number 3, he is going for what is usually pretty safe, which is like those faster centrifugal hooks once again, as opposed to just like going into melee and double upgrades. In fact, I think he only still has 1 evolution chamber, but anyways, perfect defense. That is the goal right now against the Hellions and the Banshee.
Creep Tumor actually got sniped there by the splash damage that went down on one of those queens, but obviously plenty of queens to work with, so losing 1 Creep Tumor is not really going to be disastrous. It's a 5-minute Spire for Lambo this game, so that's already very different than everything we've seen before. Spire play obviously has been very common on Eternal Empire, I would say. We've seen it a lot in the past. Sometimes you even see the 2 base Spire opening on this map if Terran players are super annoying with their eBay blocks, their bunker blocks. That's not happening this time. And we have a Spore in every base. We've got Queens technically in every base and then a couple of additional Queens to help out. I feel like this is looking alright for Lambo. I really don't see why he should be taking a lot of damage. Of course, you'll probably end up losing 2, 3, maximum 4 drones, but it shouldn't be much more than that, right?
That's what we said last time, and then he ended up losing like 15 like, the Banshees. The Queens need to get in position, but they also need to still be wary of the Hellions, which at this point can be sacrificed, and he can still get his 3rd CC down. The Spire being scouted is another kind of a worry. Like, it's nice when it's not scouted, but
wow.
They did go through the natural. Already up to 7 drones. The Banshees, a little bit stuck. One might go down here as Cloak also vanishes. Yeah, so one is going to survive, maybe be used as just like a run by scout later on. But yeah, the faster Spire, delaying the upgrades pretty significantly, as you want the defense and the safety of the Banelings and the Baneling speed, and usually a decent amount of creep spread. But I like the mutas. I like the change-up. Mostly, I like that it's going to give Lambo at least some temporary control to start things off before Cure is ready to do that push onto the 4th base that we see so many times.
Yeah, and it's also important that we finally get some action on the other side of the map, right? Like, you don't win ZVTs by only trying to sort of defend and spread some creep. Obviously, there were some moments where that was the case, but I think this game has changed quite a bit over the last few years. It is important that Lambo finds a couple SCVs here and there. It is important that Cure can not only ever focus on his aggressive attacks, but he's going to be forced to save some SCVs here and there and force on some defensive micro as well, as one muta did go down immediately. Obviously not the way that we want to see these mutas start, but the Banshees get taken care of. We can see that Lambo is trying to pick up some reinforcements. He's going to have to be really careful here, because obviously this muta count is not overwhelming. There are a couple of Banelings here, but the fight is going to be mostly off creep. I am a little bit worried. It should be doable here for Lambo, but it will all come down to the engagement.
Yeah, it is unfortunate those mutas did not get very much done on their first appearance. In fact, in just losing a muta and then now another muta as the AI kind of got sent into those Marines. Hellbats are now available as well. It's looking more and more difficult to actually hold. But he's going to go, and it's off creep. It does have a partial surround. Marines are forced to pull back as the tanks desperately try to focus fire. There are going to be just enough Banelings with the support of the mutas being transfused by the Queens. Unfortunately, even with the transfuse, he lost all of his Banelings in that engagement. He lost 6 mutas, 6 out of 8 mutas that he invested into, and Cure is already ready for round 2.
Yep, and this obviously means that he now wants to rebuild those mutalisks, which also means a lot less Zerglings and Banelings to work with. And don't forget how much damage that hatchery took. It actually almost went down. The Queen saved it in the end, but there isn't much energy left on these Queens anymore. That hatchery is super low on HP. This fort base is crucial in this matchup. No Zerg ever wants to lose that fort hatchery. Lambo's going to do whatever he can to keep it alive. And I just don't think he's got enough here, Jess.
Nah, neither do I. The Marines do go a little bit too far into creep, perhaps, but now a second tank joins up, and enough Marines are left over. The Queens also were a casualty of that last fight, so they're not really here supporting, tanking any shots, and that is the 4th base dead and gone. Sometimes that can be okay. If the army fights didn't happen the way they did, if no army fight happened, you just gave it up, okay, maybe you can live to see another day, but this is armies going down and hatcheries going down, Queens going down, so no more creep tumors. Cure is probably going to win with this push.
It has not quite the fireworks we saw last weekend as the first series of the day here. Seems like a foregone conclusion at this point, as Cure just has way too much. He's steaming forward. I feel like he doesn't even really respect anymore what's left for Lambo. Lambo's going to do his best to get a few more Banelings out, but he knows as well. GG gets called, and Cure takes a very decisive, very clean 3-0. If anybody was doubting the Koreans after last Sunday, well, they're back, okay? They're not going down without a fight. Cure just looked super dominant in this series.
He really did, and Lambo just felt off. Maybe that first game, really, it all started. The entire series started with letting Hellions and Banshees do way more than they ever usually do. That doesn't really feel so good for a pro gamer who's used to taking 2 drones max damage. Kind of felt like a spiral down from there.
Yeah.
That did not look on form for game number 3, especially. Game number 2, a little bit of a bop with the Hellbats. But yeah, quick 3-0. Cure might have doubted him a little bit for this tournament. Not anymore. So
no, I'm happy to see that as well, right? Because I was super hyped to have Cure in TSL. It's like, okay, Maru and Inno, they've got all the titles, they've got all the history. But if you just focus on some of the online tournaments over the last few months, Cure is one hell of a Terran player. And I was like, all right, show it in TSL then too. Didn't really work out last weekend, but this looks a lot more like the Cure that a lot of the StarCraft fans expected to show up. And if he keeps playing like this, could be a pretty epic run in the lower bracket.
Absolutely. We've already started on our predictions as well. Turns out I have at least one prediction correct. TLO's good to go on the T-Rex, good to go on the Zombie Grid predictions. I'm feeling good about today, even though we started off with a 3-0. There's still a lot more to come, guys, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with TSL 5.
We stand as one.
Are